come to the islands, you got to do a couple things. You know, one of them's going to a luau, one's getting in the water, and the other one is surfing. Now, there's all kinds of surfing. There's a new craze going around. Maybe it's not a new craze. We're going to talk to our resident expert, Mr. Dave Kalama. Aloha, David.
Aloha.
Thank you for having us visit Kalama Beach. We're on Kalama Beach, right?
This is a nice place, Kalama Park.
No, Kalama Park. Okay, excuse me. Paddle surfing. So I've got a question, number one. Question number one, how big is that board?
The boards range anywhere from, say, 9 foot on the small end all the way up to 18 foot is what we're experimenting with channel crossing boards right now. But your typical board's probably about 11 or 12 feet.
Can you ride a wave with an 18-foot board?
It becomes very difficult. The biggest big wave riding boards are about 14 feet.
Right. So you have a paddle,
Yep.
right? It doesn't mean anything if you're a lefty or a righty, right?
No, because most of the time you stand square to the nose, so it's balanced on both sides.
And how wide is it, hypothetically?
The boards range anywhere from 26 on the narrow side all the way up to 33, even 34. Typically 29 plus or minus a little is average.
So a guy like me and something like our cameraman over here, we get chance riding a wave with that kind of board.
Absolutely. We'll just make yours a little wider and you'll have all
the
stability. And a little thicker.
Now, was that a craze that was earlier in the 50s and the 60s? Or what has happened? Is this a resurrection of paddle surfing? I mean, tell me.
There is a resurrection as of lately, but originally I heard of guys doing it in Waikiki in the 50s and 60s.
Right.
And I want to say that probably the ancient Hawaiians probably even did it long before that, although you don't see many illustrations of it. As much as they paddle and much as they've been around in the surf, different islands, they had to have stood up and paddled on their board at some point.
Is that built for a smaller wave? Because I know you're a big wave rider. So as a big wave rider, what's the kick? What's the adrenaline? Or are you guys riding big waves with these boards?
The nice thing about stand-up boards is they make a small wave seem really fun because it kind of gets back to the essence of what wave riding is, just sliding across the surface. And a big board like that is perfect for it. And on the extreme end, we are riding at Pulaski and some of the outer reefs, so there really is no limit on the tall side. You actually have an advantage to get into the wave sooner when it's really big. So it's a plus win-win every way you look at it for me.
Is it harder to paddle into that? Because I'm thinking, okay, now Branscome's going to paddle his board out there and Branscome's going to be standing up. There's some tricks to that, right? I mean, can you explain a little bit of that?
I'd say Branscome's probably going to get wet at some point in that scenario.
Thanks, Dave.
But no, honestly, the equipment can be tuned for every individual.
Right.
So we just make a board that's a little wider and a little thicker, like you said, and you'll have the same experience I will. And you can start out someplace like this. It's nice and mellow, and then the small waves, and work your way up.
Tandem? Are they doing tandem stand-up?
I don't think they're actually doing the lifts yet because you've got the paddle in your hand. But I take my son out there, and he's got his little short board, and we catch a wave, and he jumps off onto his short board and rides in. So it's just really a fun thing. It's not super serious. It's meant to keep surfing sort of light and fun.
Sure. Bigger waves. How big will you go with this kind of board?
Well, I just got a 14-footer, and as everybody knows, Pulaski gets as big as anybody wants to ride.
How big is big?
Well, let's say I've seen Laird on some 40-foot faces, somewhere between 35, 40-foot faces. He's the extreme end of it. I'm playing a little catch-up there, but I'm trying to work my way into that kind of stuff.
So 20-footer can handle on that stand-up board paddling in with the paddle?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, 20-footer. Well, 20-foot faces, no problem.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably been in the 25 to 30-foot faces so far. But there's still room to grow.
Well, so here's the question. That's one experience. Does it delete the other experience when you're on a shorter board riding that kind of wave, or what do you think?
No, as I always come back to, that is one of the beautiful things about stand-up paddling is it's for every type of water,
right.
A waterway, a bay, a river, crossing from one island to the other. Every part of it is unique and fun in its own right. And that's what I love about it is one day I can be riding waves, the next day I might be paddling the Molokai, and then the next day I might be here on the south side with my kids just riding 1 to 2 foot surf. And every single one of those aspects of it is really fun. And that's what I love about the whole sport.
Water sports is a healthy way to blow off some steam. Keeps you in shape. Guys like me at this part of the game, you got to keep that cardiovascular going. And Dave Kalama may be paddling from here to China. We don't really know exactly where he's going to be. Our resident surf expert, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Hey,
Pleasure.
when you're here, get on out in the water. We're going to be right back right after this.